Hello, friends. It's been some time since we discussed motorcycle manufacturing history. Today, I'll share the history of Suzuki motorcycles. This is the story of how Suzuki grew from a small workshop making wooden looms into a multinational corporation producing motorcycles, cars, engines, and much more, with its headquarters in Hamamatsu. Make yourselves comfortable. Enjoy watching. The story of Suzuki began on February 10, 1887. That was the day Michio Suzuki was born. Michio was the son of a farmer who grew cotton. Legend has it that young Suzuki often watched his mother working hard at the loom, and at some point, he promised to create a loom that would replace the heavy manual labor. As a young man, Michio apprenticed as a carpenter, but when World War I started, work quickly declined. Then his teacher started making looms, and Michio also gained knowledge and skills in their production. After finishing his apprenticeship at the age of 21, our hero paid special attention to the growing demand for floor looms, and in 1909 he founded Suzuki Loom Works and single-handedly built a loom. He gave his first creation to his mother as a gift. Word spread through the nearby villages, and soon orders started coming in. This was the beginning of Suzuki's story. In 1912, Michio Suzuki invented an innovative technology. It was a device for raising and lowering the shuttle on a loom. This equipment made it easy to weave checkered patterns, which were in high demand in the textile industry at that time. His equipment conquered Japan. The year 1920 was a year of chaos for the Japanese economy. The post-war depression led to a stock market crash, and many companies quickly declared bankruptcy. However, under such harsh conditions, Suzuki Loom Works was not affected and showed steady growth. On March 15, 1920, Michio Suzuki made a bold decision to transform the company into a joint stock corporation. It was named Suzuki Loom Manufacturing Company and offered unique products that were not available from its competitors. In 1932, a loom was invented that made it easy to weave wide fabric, which led to a sharp increase in productivity. With these inventions, Suzuki's looms became about twice as efficient as the English looms, which were widely used at that time. They were exported to various Asian countries, and in particular, became a record hit in Indonesia. By the mid-1930s, Suzuki realized the need to expand into new fields in order to ensure the company's long-term growth. Taking into account the technical capabilities and the company's future economic growth, Michio decided to focus on automobile production. And in 1937, the long-awaited first prototype was built. It was equipped with an innovative, for its time, 4-stroke, 4-cylinder engine with liquid cooling and a cast aluminum crankcase. The 800cc power unit generated 13 horsepower. With the start of World War II, the Japanese government considered civilian automobiles to be an unpromising direction, and further development of this project was discontinued. Immediately after World War II, the Japanese economy was in very poor condition. Suzuki's headquarters was subjected to air raids. The factory was destroyed, and the company faced an existential crisis with several thousand employees. But then the United States of America, which was occupying Japan at the time, announced its policy of reviving the Japanese textile industry, which allowed the company to return to manufacturing looms. Things started to improve for Suzuki, but not everything went smoothly. Democratic ideas began to spread in Japan. Labor movements became active within Suzuki. Strikes began, and on top of that, the cotton crisis hit in 1951. The textile industry was in a precarious position and urgently needed to expand into other business areas. This is when the management at Suzuki remembered about cars and motorcycles.
You have to work hard. With these small Asian hands, work hard.
After the war, There was a high demand in Japan for affordable means of transportation, especially simple motorcycles and motorized bicycles. Roughly 150 companies were competing in this niche. In 1952, the Power Free was born. It was the first two-wheeled motorized vehicle from Suzuki. The Power Free came to life thanks to Shunzo Suzuki, who later became the company's second president. This guy loved to ride his bicycle to go fishing. And the city of Hamamatsu has strong seasonal winds that make it difficult to ride a bicycle. Shunzo thought it would be much easier if this bicycle had an engine. The Power Free was basically a bicycle with a two-stroke, 36 cubic centimeter, 1 horsepower engine. The two-sprocket gear system allowed you to help the engine with the pedals, as well as ride using only the engine or only the pedals. Around the same time, the rules for riding motorcycles changed in Japan, and anyone could get behind the handlebars after completing a short training course. This trend helped the Power Free achieve immediate success with record sales. The model was so successful that the patent office of the new Japanese government granted Suzuki a financial subsidy to continue research in motorcycle engineering. The company began developing a more powerful auxiliary engine, and in March 1953, the Diamond Free went on sale. The 2 horsepower, 60 cubic centimeter engine was more powerful than those of competitors, and sales were strong from the very beginning. That same year, Suzuki won its first Mount Fuji hill climb race with the Diamond Free. In the fall of that same year, production volume significantly exceeded expectations, reaching 150% of the planned monthly output. By 1954, the brand was producing 6,000 motorcycles a month, and by the decision of Michio Suzuki, it changed its name to Suzuki Motor Company Limited. In 1954, the company introduced its first full-fledged bike, the Kaleda CO, with a 4-stroke engine of 90 cubic centimeters, producing 4 horsepower, which served as the basis for a series of motorcycles with small displacement engines. It was the first Japanese motorcycle equipped with a speedometer built into the headlight. The integrated gearbox had 3 speeds. By the way, Kaleda in Japanese means something like "here it is" or "that's the one." The Japanese use this word when they find something special. As of 1954, no documents were required to operate 2-stroke motorcycles up to 60 cubic centimeters and 4-stroke motorcycles up to 90. This is the fact that the Suzuki company focused on, but the free ride ended by 1955. The Kaleda CO model was soon discontinued and replaced by the 125cc CO-X version. But 4-stroke machines at that time were not as reliable as the simpler 2-stroke ones, and soon Suzuki stopped producing even the 125 model. All efforts were focused on developing 2-stroke engines. In fact, it was more than 20 years before Suzuki built 4-stroke engines again, after an unsuccessful attempt to use Wankel engines. But let's take it step by step. In 1955, the Kaleda lineup was expanded with 2 2-stroke models, the 102cc Porter Free and the 123cc CST. In the same year, Suzuki's first car appeared, the Suzulite, which featured front-wheel drive, independent suspension on all wheels, and a rack and pinion steering system. This was the beginning of mass production of cars by Suzuki. In 1956, the 2-cylinder Kaleda TT engine with a displacement of 250cc was released. The TT is the predecessor of all Suzuki 2-stroke engines, with a displacement of 250 cubic centimeters, including the T20, T250, and GT250. The air-cooled engine had a square ratio of 54 by 54 millimeters. In the following years, Kaleda continued its development. And here comes the question: why hasn't the word Suzuki come up even once? The fact is that the recognizable company logo was chosen from about 300 options only on October 1, 1958. Michio Suzuki was a member of the European Sociological Committee for the study of the motorcycle industry. This activity led him to the idea that in terms of popularity, mopeds would not be inferior to motorcycles. And in 1958, he introduced the SM1 Suzuki moped, and in 1962, the Serapetto MA appeared, which became very popular in Japan. Things were going well for Suzuki with motorcycle assembly until Typhoon Vera struck Japan on September 26, 1959. Along with a quarter of the country, the Suzuki factory was wiped out completely. However, people from the land of the rising sun are hardworking and persistent. In under a year, they rebuild the factory and start the production line. In 1959, Suzuki Motor Company decides to participate in races with the Kaleido model. However, out of the 5 motorcycles entered, only 1 crossed the finish line, and 3 of them broke down completely. The failure forced the company's engineers to look for ways to improve the quality of the racing motorcycles and to refine their design. On June 13, 1960, Suzuki debuted in the Tourist Trophy on the Isle of Man. In the crazy and dizzying event, Suzuki motorcycles only finished in 15th, 16th, and 17th places, but all of them made it to the finish line. The solution to the problem of improving the technology came quite unexpectedly, thanks to the engineer and racer from the German Democratic Republic Ernst Degner. In 1961, during a competition in Sweden, he and his family escaped to the West. Degner did not come to the Western motorcycle world empty-handed. He took some of Motorradwerk Zschopau's secrets and sold them to Suzuki engineers. The managers of the Japanese company immediately signed a contract with the racer, and afterwards, he competed for the Suzuki team. In 1962, using the blueprints brought by Degner, the Japanese built a motorcycle that won the world championship in the 50 cubic centimeter class. This machine also participated in the Tourist Trophy. On race day on the Isle of Man, June 8, 1962, Ernst Degner performed excellently from start to finish, which marked the victory. In the following year, 1963, they won in 2 classes, 50 and 125 cubic centimeters. In the 50 class, for the first time, a Japanese racer, Mitsuo Ito, became the winner. 1964 brought another victory in the 50 cubic centimeter class. This amazing achievement of 3 consecutive victories made Suzuki and their technology world famous. It was a success. In the civilian market in the 60s, 2 models with 2-stroke K and M engines were produced. They were extremely popular, and more than 500,000 units of the K10 and K11 were produced in total. In 1964, they were replaced by the B100P model, or Bloop, which was produced until the mid-70s. In 1963, the North American division, United States Suzuki Motor Corporation, was opened in Los Angeles. 2 years later, a model designed specifically for the United States market was released. The T20, which was also known as the X6 Super 6 and Hustler. The bike was equipped with a powerful 2-stroke, 2-cylinder engine with a displacement of 250 cubic centimeters and an output of 29 horsepower. The engine was equipped with a 6-speed gearbox and allowed the motorcycle to reach speeds of up to 140 kilometers per hour. A year later, a revised version of the T200 was released, reaching speeds of up to 177 kilometers per hour. The model was highly successful, with buyers loving it in the United States and worldwide. In addition, in the 60s, the Twin Ace and T10 models were produced, equipped with a 250cc engine flashing turn signals, an electric starter, and a frame made of stamped steel. This era saw major motorcycle racing victories. Degner won the 50cc championship, while New Zealander Hugh Anderson took the 125cc title in 1963 and 1965. Hans Georg also took first place twice in the 50cc class, in which no one could match Suzuki. The 60s became a golden era for 50cc racing cars, as Suzuki, Honda, and Kreidler focused their technology on developing these pocket rockets. By the way, there's a video about the latter on the channel. By the time management ended development in this category, Due to International Motorcycle Federation rule changes, top 50cc bikes made 360 horsepower per liter, reached 23,000 RPM and used 14-speed gearboxes. The Suzuki with a two-cylinder 50cc engine, 32.5 x 30 mm&AD, was the era's most successful motorcycle and was set to be replaced by the three-cylinder RP68 model, 28 x 26.5 ME. The engine produced 18 horsepower at 17,300 RPM and was paired with a 14-speed gearbox. This incredible creation never got the chance to participate in races. In 1968, the T500 model was born, which was equipped with an inline two-cylinder, two-stroke engine with a displacement of 500 cubic centimeters and air cooling. Its power was 47 horsepower, and the maximum speed reached 180 kilometers per hour. The second half of the 60s and the early 70s were a time of significant changes for Suzuki, as well as for many other manufacturers. The fuel crisis hit, greatly impacting technology development. New markets were explored, and new types of motorcycles, especially motocross and enduro, began to emerge. In the early 60s, major British four-stroke brands dominated these categories. But things began to change by mid-decade. CZ and Husqvarna introduced lightweight two-stroke motorcycles, which started to replace the heavier four-stroke models. The only thing that didn't change was that motocross in the 60s was still mainly a European sport. In 1965, at the insistence of some influential racers and under the leadership of Suzuki's general manager of research and development, Mr. Okana, work began on the first RH series motocross motorcycle project. In the early 70s, Suzuki became the first Japanese manufacturer to win the Motocross World Championship. Joel Robber, who competed for the Suzuki team in the Motocross World Championship, brought the team its first victory in the 250cc class. He confirmed his championship title 2 years in a row. Suzuki has 34 titles in American Series, as well as 30 titles in the World Championship. In the 125cc class, factory riders won the World Championship for 10 straight years. No other motorcycle manufacturer can boast such a record. In 1971, the Suzuki TM400 Cyclone motocross bike appeared, and under the control of Roger de Coster, it won the championship title in the 500cc class at the World Championship and held the victory for 5 years. A few words should be said about the racing Suzuki RH72, which was built especially for the Belgian racer Joel Robber. In 1972, only two 250cc bikes were produced, and Joel rode only one of them. The most remarkable feature of the model is its simplicity and the use of materials from the aviation and aerospace industries. Every part of the motorcycle was lightweight and as functional as possible. For example, the lower shock absorber mounts were made of titanium. The frame was made of high-quality thin chromoly tubes and weighed only 6.8 kilograms. The rear swing arm, weighing 1.8, was made of aerospace aluminum. The engine was also simple and functional, weighing 15.8 kilograms. The fully assembled RH72 weighed only 76.2 kilograms. The motorcycle was designed for 2 40-minute races, and after each stage it returned to the headquarters of Suzuki's European division, which was located in Nijmegen, the Netherlands. There it was disassembled and thoroughly inspected, then reassembled with new parts. In 1973, the International Motorcycling Federation set a minimum weight of 88.9 kilograms for 250cc bikes, disadvantaging Suzuki. The ERH-73 racing bike that had been created by that time turned out to be 13.6 kilograms lighter. Titanium was also banned in the construction of the chassis. This new rule was a disaster for Suzuki. That marked the end of the high-tech era in motocross. In 1971, the production of the civilian model Gran Turismo 750 began, featuring a revolutionary 3-cylinder, 2-stroke engine with a liquid cooling system for its time. The engine produced 67 horsepower and came with 4 mufflers. The model could accelerate up to 200 kilometers per hour. In the United States, it was called the Water Buffalo, and in the United Kingdom, the Kettle. For British 750 bikes, this was a serious competitor. The Suzuki Gran Turismo 750 became the progenitor of an entire family of motorcycles, with 3-cylinder engines, which included models like the Gran Turismo 380 and Gran Turismo 550. Also during this period, road and off-road motorcycles such as the TS 5100 125, 185, 400 and T550 were produced. In 1972, a civilian version of the TM 400 motorcycle was introduced, which was named the Hustler 400. It was equipped with a duplex frame and the same racing engine as the Sportbike. The 2-stroke single-cylinder engine produced 34 horsepower, making it the most powerful representative of its class. It was easy to use and maneuverable, which determined its success among motorcycle enthusiasts. Suzuki realized in the early 70s that 2-stroke engines were losing ground in the civilian market. Their engineers saw that more efficient, eco-friendly 4-stroke engines were the future. Besides its traditional internal combustion engine, Suzuki pursued the rotary engine, obtaining a license on November 24, 1970. By the way, back then all of the Big Four were dreaming about the Wankel engine. Yamaha and Kawasaki acquired a license and each showcased a prototype. The clever Seiichiro Honda also presented a prototype but without purchasing a license. Suzuki went the furthest in this area. After 2.5 years developing their rotor, the company unveiled the rotary engine, 5-rotary model at the 1973 Tokyo Motor Show. The 250-kilogram bike featured a single-rotor 497cc engine producing 62 horsepower. The maximum speed that the rotary engine 5 could reach was 175 kilometers per hour. In reality, it was a complex and costly bike that performed no better than the 2-stroke T500 it was meant to replace. The oil crisis of 1973 and its consequences also drove the final nail into the coffin of the project. Millions were at stake, and Suzuki was determined to continue production. However, realizing the seriousness of the situation and having produced 6,300 units, in 1976, the company accepted its losses and shut down the production of the rotary motorcycle. In 1975, the production motocross motorcycle RM 125 debuted, equipped with a single-cylinder 2-stroke air-cooled engine producing 23 horsepower at 10,500 RPM. This was the civilian version of the RA75, which won the Motocross Grand Prix World Championship that same year. The RM 125 started the RM series, which featured engines from 50 to 500 cubic centimeters. The GS750, the brand's first road bike with a full 4-stroke engine, debuted in 1976. The 4-cylinder engine with 2 overhead camshafts and air cooling produced 68 horsepower. With a relatively light weight of 223 kilograms, it had outstanding dynamic characteristics and excellent handling, which made it extremely popular. The GS series quickly expanded to include the GS400 model. In 1978, the lineup was expanded with the first Suzuki motorcycle with a liter engine, the GS1000. Its engine produced 87 horsepower and allowed the bike to accelerate up to 220 kilometers per hour. Perfect handling was provided by the adjustable suspension. It was an exceptionally stylish and reliable motorcycle. Over the decade, the company expanded significantly. In 1973, Suzuki opened a branch in Canada, and in 1974, a joint venture for parts production was established in Indonesia. And in 1975, an assembly plant was opened in the Philippines. In 1978, Osamu Suzuki became the president of the company. In 1979, Suzuki won the American Motorcyclists Association Superbike for the first time with rider Wes Cooley on a specially prepared GS1000 for racing. Cooley won this championship 2 years in a row. By the early 1980s, Suzuki had built a strong reputation for making powerful, reliable, and fast motorcycles. In 1981, the Gemma scooter with a 50 cubic centimeter engine made its debut, along with the most powerful production motorcycle of that time, the Suzuki GSX 1100S Katana. Its design was created by the German Hans Muth. The engine of this bike produced 111 horsepower at 8,500 revolutions per minute. A year later, Suzuki founded and became the leader of a new market, the all-terrain vehicle market. The Quadrunner LT 125, the first in this niche, quickly became popular despite being new. This model gave birth to Suzuki's all-terrain vehicle slogan, "First on four wheels." After the release of the LT 125, a whole series of models followed. Soon, competing companies also began producing their own ATVs. The divisions involved in cars and boat engines were also thriving. When it came to competitions, the company was at the top, both in Grand Prix and in motocross. In 1982, Franco Uncini won the 500cc World Championship. In March 1983, Suzuki presented the RG 250 Gamma motorcycle, the first member of the emerging RG Gamma motorcycle family. The following year, the older brother was introduced, the RG 500, whose two-stroke engine had the same square four-cylinder layout as the factory Grand Prix motorcycle. And in 1985, a 400cc version was released for the domestic Japanese market. In 1985, the result of 3 years of painstaking work was introduced, the GSX-R 750 sport motorcycle, which became a revolutionary breakthrough in motorcycle racing. Its engine produced 130 horsepower and it weighed 179 kilograms. The GSX-R 750 became synonymous with racing. It was not only a revolutionary model, but also a revolutionary engine. The new motorcycle weighed 50 kilograms less than the previous generation model. Suzuki overnight upended motorsport, forcing rivals to rapidly advance their technology. In 1988, Kevin Schwantz won the Daytona 200 race on the GSX-R 750. The new motorcycle turned out to be perfect for the young athlete. Suzuki hired Kevin to compete in the World Grand Prix. In his very first race, the young Texan won the Japanese Grand Prix. In 1986, the GSX-R family was joined by an upgraded 1100. Model the new 1100 covers a quarter mile in 10.3 seconds and boasts a top speed of over 260 kilometers per hour. In 1986, at the Tokyo Motor Show, Suzuki presented a futuristic prototype called Nuda, featuring an engine from the 750 GSX-R all-wheel drive and a theoretical top speed of 280 kilometers per hour. By the way, this isn't the company's only all-wheel drive motorcycle. Development continued through the 80s, and in 1991, Suzuki unveiled 3 new motorcycle prototypes. These were the utilitarian XF4, the ugly bastard XF425, and the Enduro XF5. The front-wheel drive system of the motorcycle consisted of a telescopic drive shaft running along the left fork leg of the motorcycle. The shaft itself was driven by a chain system, and the whole construction added 7.8 kilograms to the weight of the motorcycle. In 1988, Suzuki introduced the DR750S Big Tour Enduro with a large single-cylinder engine and Paris-Dakar rally-inspired design. A few years later, the DR800 debuted, featuring the largest single-cylinder production engine ever. In 1989, Jamie James won the American Motorcyclist Association Superbike Championship on the GSX-R 750. This year also marked the launch of the Bandit Street Motorcycle Series. In 1989, the 250 and 400 models were introduced for the Japanese domestic market. In the 1990s, the company started changing its name to Suzuki Motor Corporation and updated its model lineup. The Enduro model, DR650, began its history. In 1992, the no less famous legendary Enduro 250 Jebel appeared, the junior 600 cubic centimeter GSX-R. A year earlier, the GSX-R 750 switched to liquid cooling. In 1995, the Bandit family expanded with the 600 and 1200 models. The TL 1000S, released in 1997, became the company's first sport motorcycle with a two-cylinder V-shaped engine producing 125 horsepower, which surpassed its main competitors, Honda and Ducati. In 1999, the Suzuki SV650 street motorcycle series appeared. And as my friend Damon says, there's no better motorcycle than the SV650. A 400cc version, the SV400, was offered for Japan's domestic market. The appearance of the SV was due to Suzuki's desire to gain a share of the export market by offering a cheaper competitor to Ducati motorcycles. Past experience with the TL1000 showed strong demand for these motorcycles and a dedicated fan base. The total number of Suzuki motorcycles produced by 1999 reached 40 million. At the end of the century, the legendary Suzuki GSX-1300 Hayabusa made its debut, immediately earning the title of the fastest production motorcycle in the world. Hayabusa translates from Japanese as peregrine falcon. The name of this bird is a metaphor for speed. In particular, the choice of the name was due to the fact that the peregrine falcon usually hunts thrushes. This allusion showed Suzuki's aim to take the title of world's fastest production motorcycle from the Honda CBR 1100 XX Super Blackbird, the Super Thrush. The maximum speed of the Hayabusa surpassed the Super Blackbird by 16 kilometers per hour and reached 312. The 1300cc power unit accelerated the GSX 1300R from 0 to 100 in 2.75 seconds and in 10 seconds, from 0 to 225 kilometers per hour. This machine is still being produced today, and in 2021, the third generation of the Hayabusa debuted. The 21st century arrived, and in fact, nothing changed in the direction of Suzuki's ambitions. The company continued to grow and develop. In 2001, the GSX-R 1000 Sportbike appeared, created on the basis of the 750, and its development took 3 years. It was equipped with a 160 horsepower liquid-cooled engine. In the 2000s, the GSX-R 1000 won the American Motorcyclist Association Championship 8 out of 9 times. Suzuki scooters also continue to be improved. In 2001, the company introduced the maxi scooter Suzuki Bergman 650, which was equipped with a 638cc engine. In 2004, the well-known touring bike V-Strom 650 appeared. Today, everyone is familiar with the name of the Suzuki Boulevard Cruiser series. It was launched by the company in 2005 as a result of merging other model lines: Marauder, Volusia, Desperado, and Savage. The Suzuki Boulevard motorcycle series won over bikers with its stylish design. The very first in this series was the Suzuki Boulevard C90, made in a style characteristic of classic American motorcycles. The Supermoto DRZ 400 SM debuted in 2005 and is still made today, along with the GSR 600 model. The latter became the ancestor of an entire naked family, which includes the 250, 400, and 750 models. Since 2006, the flagship model in the cruiser lineup, the M109R, has been produced, equipped with a V-twin engine with a displacement of 1.8 liters. By the end of 2007, 873,000 Gixxers had been sold worldwide, and by 2012, more than 1 million. In 2007, the B-King, featuring the engine from the Hayabusa, was launched as the company's flagship Naked. The global crisis led to Suzuki Motor Corporation suffering losses in 2010. In some countries, demand dropped so much that the management of the Japanese motorcycle manufacturer decided not to resume deliveries, but to sell off models from the previous year. However, by 2013, the company overcame the effects of the crisis and presented its updated models at the Milan Motorcycle Show. Among them was the upgraded V-Strom 1000, which became the first Suzuki motorcycle with a traction control system. One of the company's latest new models was the GSX-R, released in 2018 with a 4-stroke 4-cylinder engine of 1,000 cubic centimeters and a power output of over 240 horsepower, which provided a top speed of more than 330 kilometers per hour. In the sports arena, things remained stable for Suzuki. For example, in 2017, Michael Dunlop won on the Isle of Man riding a leader class racing Gixxer. So friends, we've just looked at the history of Suzuki, one of the biggest players in the global motorcycle market. Of course, the story of Suzuki doesn't end here. In the future, the company will impress motorcycle fans with new, modern, powerful, and reliable models. This brings my story to an end. I'm not a historian, but I believe that during the preparation of this material, I went through enough information to present this story in an interesting and as accurate a way as possible. I didn't set out to list every single motorcycle model. If I happen to miss mentioning your favorite Suzuki motorcycle, please don't take it personally. The fate of this story is now in your hands. You can help it move forward by sharing, commenting, and subscribing to the channel, or you can just ignore it. Thank you. This was Crass Moto Channel. See you next time.